It's a pleasure to have you join us on another episode of Money Matters on TV360 Nigeria. I am Okpeyemi Owoshini. We start off with business news. The Nigerian Senate has called on the federal government to extend the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway project to include states in the northeastern region. This follows a motion introduced by the Senator Mohammed Danjo Magoje of Gombe Central during a recent Senate session. According to him, the lack of infrastructure in the northeast exacerbates security issues and hinders socio-economic development. Supporting the motion, Senator Dickett Plank of Plateau Central also called for the inclusion of certain north-central zones in the road project.
These landmark projects, which are made up of the Sokoto-Badagry Superhighway, connecting Sokoto northwest to Badagry southwest, Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway south-south, Calabar-Ibomi, Benue, Kogi, Nasarawa, Abuja Superhighway, southeast and north-central respectively, were designed in line with the current administration's commitment towards actualizing the vision of making Nigeria the largest economy in Africa.
I see the two motions aligning, and I believe that this motion does not just rest with the Northeast alone.
Urge the Federal Ministry of Works to include the Calabar, Makodi, Jalingo, Meduguri Highway, and also to include the Akwanga, Jos, Gombe, Adamawa highways to complete the renewed road agenda of Mr. President with a view to leaving behind legacy roads in the country. Those in support of this additional prayers say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The Comptroller General of the Nigerian Customs Service, Adewale Adeniyi, has disclosed that vehicle importation dropped by 45% in the first quarter of 2024 due to foreign exchange challenges in the country. Speaking in an interview, Adeniyi said that the period was very critical for Nigerians and businesses in general because of the volatility in the exchange rate. Also giving an update on the private owners verification exercise, Adeniyi said there is a good number of private jet owners that started leaving Nigeria since the verification announcement was made. The CGC explained that the service started a private jet owners verification exercise because more private jets were operating outside the ambit of the law. We'll go on a short break and be back with more stories in the corporate world. Welcome back. Guinness Nigeria PLC has recorded its first loss in about 5 years due to increased cost and foreign exchange pressures. That's according to this latest unedited report. The brewery company recorded a 60.45 billion loss before tax in its 9-month 2023/24 year compared to the 9.94 billion profits in the same period of the year 2023. Its operating expenses surged by 9%, amounting to 48.50 billion naira from over 44 billion naira percent the previous year. Now, the drop in its income tax to 1.2 billion naira in the period under review from 4.1 billion naira the previous year made its after-tax loss drop to 61.65 billion naira. We'll go on a short break, but when Money Matter returns, we'll be discussing the role corporate investment plays in economic growth in Nigeria. I'll bring you details of this and more after this break. Welcome back. Corporate investments play a pivotal role in the economic development of any country, and Nigeria is no exception. These investments, often substantial and long-term, inject much-needed capital into various sectors of the economy, fostering growth and stability. Now, by financing infrastructure projects, technology advancement, and industrial expansions. Corporate investment upgrades a robust economic foundation. This in turn facilitates increased productivity, job creation, and improved living standard for the populace. Now, one of the most significant impacts of corporate investment is on infrastructure development in Nigeria. The need for modern infrastructure is critical to support the beginning population and expanding economy. Corporate investments in roads, bridges, power plants, and telecommunications not only provide the physical framework for economic activities, but also attract further investment by reducing operational costs and improving efficiency. Additionally, corporate investment drives technological innovation and skills development. This technological advancement creates new job opportunities and require a skilled workforce, prompting educational institutions to align their curricula with industry need. This fosters a cycle of innovation, employment, and economic growth. Now, joining me to discuss the significant role that corporate investments play in driving Nigeria's economic growth and development is the head of HNI and corporate at Cowrywise Financial Technology Limited, Mr. Oyekan. Thank you for joining me on the program, Mr. Oyekan. Now, let's start by exploring the broader impact of corporate investment on Nigeria's economy. Corporate investments are often seen as a driving force behind economic growth, contributing to GDP, job creation, as well as infrastructure development in the country. Now, can you shed light on how these investments specifically contribute to our economy?
All right. Thank you very much. When we talk about corporate investment, you have to look at it from two sides of a prism. First, you need to look at it from the foreign and local investors. And secondly, you have to look at it from direct investment and portfolio investment in the economy. And what this translates to literally is employment. We have infrastructure development, like you rightly said in your opening speech. You have your GDP. You also impacts the standard of living on the long run. Back to you.
So now, which sectors in Nigeria have seen the most significant impact from corporate investment?
Okay, I'll start from a particular data from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. In Q1 2024, we received about $2.3 billion, $3.3 billion from $1.1 billion in Q1 2023. And it's gone to various sectors. But let me just run through some of the sectors that have, significantly received some investment over the years. We have the tech-enabled businesses, that's your fintech, and the rest. In the last 6 years, they received a significant input of funds into that sector. We also have the real estate sector. We have also in recent times, the banking sector has received, up to $2 billion. We also have some input into the manufacturing and product sector. And, lastly, on that leg, we have the trading sector. But, I may also add the health sector as well. There's been some significant boost into that sector with a lot of, bespoke hospitals springing up all over the country, education, telecommunications, agriculture, and the agricultural value chain, and tourism too have been receiving, some significant, boost in terms of corporate investments. Thank you very much.
Because you would agree with me that infrastructure is a critical component of economic development. So now, I would like to know, how are corporate investments helping to bridge Nigeria's infrastructure gap?
Okay, definitely. One thing I would say is that every business has a shelter. So when you talk about real estate, there's a lot of, significant infrastructural development in the real estate sector. When you look at places like Eco Atlantic, the Lekki Free Zones, and the like. So a lot of, private investors are developing communities all over the country. We also look at the areas of telecoms. When telecoms was at its peak, there was a lot of development all over the country at community level. When you also look at oil and gas with the advent of the Dangote refinery and what has happened at that axis of Lagos State. So there's a lot of development that comes with corporate investments in terms of infrastructural development in the community and in the country. Thank you very much.
Because over time, it's been said that corporate investments often lead to job creation. Now, can you discuss the impact of such investment on employment and skills development in Nigeria, considering the fact that we have so many unemployed people in the country at the moment?
All right. Corporate investment has led to serious job creation over the years. And I'll take a reference to the latest one, which are tech-enabled businesses. I mean, there are so many new employments in the area of coders, in the area of product managers, business analysts, VC analysts, and all those kind of things. So a lot of jobs are being created. I think we just need to channel the efforts of our education towards aligning with these new jobs in the market. Of course, also when the telecom sector was really booming at its peak, we had a lot of engineers that came to the fore, and a lot of jobs were created. I have to also add that the banking and other financial services sectors have, assimilated a lot of people. So also the FMCGs. But what is really important here is that we need to align with the needs of the job market. Thank you very much.
Okay, so you just mentioned that we need to align with the needs of the job market. So would you say corporate investments are not aligning with the needs of the job market? That's why we have such a large scale of unemployment in the country at the moment.
No, not at all. Not at all. What I'm saying is that perhaps we need more corporate investments into Nigeria, by local investors and by foreign direct investors. So we need to create more jobs in that avenue so that more people can be employed. What I'm saying is that, to be honest, our educational system needs to be upgraded to align with what is needed to push job creation. Thank you very much.
Okay, we've spoken about development, so now let's talk about the challenges. What will you say are the main challenges and barriers that corporate investors face in Nigeria?
One very significant one, and thank you for that question. One very significant one is power. The power sector is still, grappling with a lot of years of investment and things like that. So it's very, it's an additional major cost to running a business. Another area that is a challenge is transport infrastructure. So when a lot of people produce things in the farm, they can easily get it to the consumers. So transport infrastructure is very important. Also, we need to look at repatriation of capital. So when these FDIs come, in the past, it's always been very difficult to repatriate capital to their parent company. But of course, and the government is taking steps to resolve that now. But it used to be a major issue, and it's still something that we need to really look at. Another thing we need to, look at is consistent policies in the country. Policies, when new governments come in, some policies are changed, are adjusted, and it just drives the economy in a different direction. So, enable or enact very ring-tight laws to ensure that, policies are not changed arbitrarily. Thank you very much.
Okay, so you mentioned transportation, you mentioned power, and these are some of the challenges that other sectors in the country also face. Now, but we are discussing about the corporate investment at the moment. Now, how do you think these challenges can be mitigated to attract more investment?
Okay, sure. We need to really fix power. That's very important because power is the bedrock of corporate investment. When a new company is being set up, they look at power. So it's very good news that power has been decentralized from the federal government, and subnationals can also produce power, transmit, and distribute to end users. So a lot of investment has been done in that regard. Also, our transport infrastructure, we need to look at it. Aside roads, we also need to, develop our waterways. We also need to develop our rail network so that we can move goods, from one part of the country, to another. Also, the education of the Nigerian people is very important. From Port Harcourt all the way to Maiduguri, from Zamfara to Lagos, people need to be educated, and even educated in things like aptitude, understanding things. Literacy level needs to be upgraded in this country. The STEM education needs to be looked at, basic education, so that, everybody understands where we need to go as a country and will drive, development in that regard. Thank you, and back to you.
So the economy has seen so many policies being introduced into it in the past year from the federal government, from the Central Bank of Nigeria as well. Now, so how do you think the recent economic policies in Nigeria have influenced corporate investment strategies?
All right, thank you for that question. I think harmonization of the exchange rate will go a long way to attract more foreign portfolio investors, likewise foreign direct investors into the country. And it's for one simple reason, because they know that whenever they need to take their capital out of the country, they can easily do that. And when that happens, of course, eventually it would impact positively on the exchange rate of the country, and a lot of people can do more business, and the stifling nature of the economy would improve. It's just that we have to bite the bullet now to to enjoy later. Also, the monetary policy regime that is being instituted by the CBN, although very laudable in trying to curb inflation in the economy. However, the inflationary pressures are also from things like increased cost of petrol and and other things. But perhaps we need to look at other ways that we can curb inflation. And again, in extension to that, increase in money policy rates, could stifle the ability of a lot of business to borrow. So we need to look at a way to manage that on the long run. Thank you, and back to you.
Okay, so let's discuss on the outlook of corporate investment in Nigeria. What would you say is the future for corporate investment in the country?
Okay, the future, to be honest, looks, great if, we weather some of these storms that we're going through now, but we need to do a lot of, reassessments in the economy. One, we need to ensure that our companies, our businesses are very competitive in the international space. That's very important. We need to aggressively create SMEs and entrepreneurs in Nigeria from all over the country. I know Tony Elumelu Foundation is doing a lot in that respect, and I know that a lot of foundations are doing, but we need a lot more to create a lot of people that are aggressively creating wealth in the economy. Also, education is very important. We've said that people need to be educated. We shouldn't have the literacy level in Nigeria is really high. We need to bring that down across board. We also need to create industrial parks at the macro, micro, and medium levels in the economy. That's very important. And we need to streamline bureaucracy in this country, make it very easy for businesses, to conduct their activities in Nigeria. Security is also a very important place that we need to look at, and just nip that in the bud. Then two more things: resource control at the subnational level. I think there should be more ability for the state governments to control more resources. That would reduce the pressure on the center, and states would develop on their own. And lastly, the agricultural sector and the agricultural value chain. They say from the farm to the fork. We need to look at that critically and ensure that that works. Thank you very much.
So let's talk about sustainable development. Over time, there's been emphasis on sustainable development. Would you say corporate investment in Nigeria are actually aligning to the goal of sustainable development?
Yes, very, very true. A lot of companies are aligning to that, and I know that the development goals that are on ground. A lot of companies are actually restructuring their policies and objectives to align to that. So I see that on the long run, a lot of corporate entities will align to that. Thank you very much.
Do you think there are any policy changes that you believe the government should implement that will further enhance the investment climate in the country?
Yeah, so in answering one of your questions, I'll gone through them, but just to rehash, our power sector, we need to look at that. Policies that are enacted in the past, we should try not to change them arbitrarily. We should look at our MDAs and see how we can streamline their efforts in the economy and ensure that there's no duplication of taxes, no duplication of rules and things like that, so that when businesses come into the country, they don't have to answer to too many regulators in the market. Also, transport infrastructure, we need to look at that policy as well. I think more roads should go to subnational or state governments so that they can easily develop it and increase interaction between businesses all over the country. Also, the rail network and waterways needs to be looked at. So we need, fiscal policies that will drive the economy as well, and of course, monetary policy that is already being done. Thank you very much.
Well, head of HNI and Corporate at Cowrywise Financial Technology Limited, Mr. Oyekan. Many thanks for lending your thoughts on the program.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's it on this episode of the program. Many thanks for joining us. I am Okpeyemi Owoshe. See you next time.